Good morning and welcome to everyone. To some people, it may be good afternoon. To others, it may be good evening. And I'm happy to share with you the challenges of infectious disease in the developing world. COVID vaccine case study, facts and myths. So look at what is SARS-CoV-2. What are the symptoms? What are the principles underlying the vaccine, and how was it made? What are the documented side effects? We'll look at some common questions and answers, and we'll look at regulatory bodies. So by the end of this lecture, participants should appreciate the gift of knowledge given to humans by God, which must be used for our survival and to fulfill the Great Commission, that is to go and make disciples. Daniel chapter 12 verse 4 says, "But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased." And in the last days, knowledge has increased. And one of the benefits of increase in knowledge for us as Christians is technological advancement, which we must also use to our advantage to spread the word of God. So there's been historical antecedents. COVID-19 is not the first. Actually, in the last 20 years or so, we've had MERS, which happened in the Mediterranean area. We had actually the version, the original SARS-CoV, which came around 2020. Sorry, the year 2000. It wasn't worldwide as we had seen the pandemic. But looking at this, there was the Black Death, which killed over 200 million people. I mean, as I speak, COVID had killed over 2.7 million and infected quite a number of people, almost 130 million worldwide. There was smallpox, killed over 56 million, or the Spanish flu. So this is just telling us that historically, there have been so many, I mean, some dating even before the earlier part of the century, before even within the BCs. So these are realities which we should bear in mind, that this is not new, except that it has happened in our lifetime. But in the earlier centuries, this slide is telling us that a lot has already gone on in terms of pandemics already. So we know about this, or we all have heard or read, but as medics, I know we definitely have come across SARS-CoV-2. And the area of interest is the spike glycoprotein. Just let's bear in mind, from here, we see how the virus attaches to humans through ACE2 receptors. And then it goes through the process, takes over the machinery of the cell, produces their viruses, and then distributes it to other cells. And that's the principle. But this is the whole virus with the spike protein. And I will lay emphasis on this because it's actually, the vaccines are developed based on the spike protein, not the whole virus. So that is how come it cannot cause infections as the main virus would cause. But the main symptoms of COVID-19, this one we know very well: a fever, might or may not be cough, diarrhea. I mean, and the pattern is changing between wave 1 and wave 2. And as we speak, some countries are actually in wave 3, others are going into wave 4. And that is why we need to interrupt the transmission by giving the vaccines as early and as quickly as possible. So loss of taste, loss of smell, hair loss are all new additions which are coming up. In other words, we can predict the trajectory of COVID. The same population, some will get asymptomatic, some will be mild, some will be moderate, severe, and critical, such that they will need intensive care hospitalization. That tells you we can predict, but actually this is the nature of the immune system and the actual virus. But the vaccines are not whole virus. The vaccines are part of the virus. Technology has been used to develop, as the Bible has said, in the last days, knowledge shall increase, and it has increased so fast. And so let us use it to our advantage, and I will talk about how it was formed. For that matter, we really cannot relate this to any specific mark of the beast or the last days issue. So this is post-COVID-19 syndrome, which again, people are getting what we call the long COVID. after the infection, they go on to develop complications. Some of these complications can hit men especially, and namely impotence. Some become forgetful, can result in infertility, and some result in fainting. And again, let me emphasize that these are symptoms of the COVID-19, the viral infection, not the vaccine, because vaccines will not give you these effects because we are not using the whole virus. It is just a component of it, the genetic makeup of the spike that has been used to develop the vaccine. So it has less effects than the actual COVID-19. So basically we are medics, so you should understand, we understand most of this already. So vaccines are just a bit of, but yeah, I also appreciate that non-medics, our spouses and others will join. So we still need to go through a bit of this. So just a bit of a foreign agent put into the body recognizes it as foreign and then produces what we will call antibodies to fight future exposures. That is the basic principle underlying all vaccines. And again, a typical example here, I love so much, is very simple. Most of us have grown to realize that we are no longer seeing measles as we used to see 30 to 40 years ago. Measles was a major killer of our children. But measles vaccines, just like yellow fever vaccines, are more likely to cause disease than the COVID vaccines because we are using just technology to take a bit of the virus. But the measles and yellow fever, they are live vaccines. It's actually the organism that is in there. And if your immune system is not up to scratch, can cause disease. So when we give you the measles immunization, again, our children below 5 years, actually up to 9 months of age, where we all know medically that the immune system is not robust. When we give them live vaccines like measles and yellow fever, majority of them are able to pick the vaccine, develop immunity to prevent true infection. So in an adult, and all things being equal, functioning immune system, using a component of a vaccine, a vector-driven vaccine, not the actual vaccine, not the actual virus, cannot cause severe disease, definitely. So let's bear that in mind. There are a few exceptions though, because in any population, there are people who are called outliers, and they may get unusual reaction just because of their own constitution. But majority, and talking about majority, would be able to tolerate it. So when you give the vaccine, that is the measles, for instance, the body produces antibodies. And then if the true virus comes, then the antibodies will attack it and you will not get disease. And it's the same principle underlying all vaccines. And it has gone on for years. So you just need to bear in mind. And most of us didn't live to see this. We were not born by this time, sorry. Cowpox was also one of the major killers. And cowpox is no more because of immunization. And we have been able to arrest it now. And again, Edward Jenner in 1796 actually developed the first antibodies to fight infection, the principles underlying vaccinology. So it's been over 225 years and vaccines have been playing a role. So, I mean, this is a disease killing people and we just cannot sit back and say vaccines are bad. The world has used a lot of vaccines. And let's bear in mind that Israel, a chosen people, they are leading percentage-wise of population vaccinated. Israel is leading, way above all other countries. I mean, Israel, we know, are originally the people of God. And if they believe in vaccines, we who are engrafted into the original should also believe in vaccines because it works. Again, experience from Ghana, we were seeing a lot of whooping cough, tetanus, diphtheria, but all these are things of the past. Actually, globally, 17.1 million deaths were averted just for measles because of vaccines. So again, vaccines are good. And again, we are talking in terms of infection prevention in Africa. And this is the way to go if we can put our systems in order and develop vaccines because we don't have the ability to build infrastructure. 300, 400 years ago, malaria was also a killer in America, in North America. Today, they are no longer there because they built their systems. They developed their drainage system such that they have overcome it. We don't have the resources to get there. But when we develop vaccines against malaria, against diarrhea diseases, against chickenpox, and all the common diseases plaguing us, then we can overcome infectious diseases. Ebola is a problem, Lassa fever is a problem, Marburg disease are problems. I mean, all these problems are there, but our target should be developing vaccines. So this study is giving us a prototype of what Africa should be doing if we want to get control over infectious diseases. So this is what happened to Ghana, and I'm just using that of Ghana because I'm speaking from Ghana as a prototype of what is happening in other African countries. And again, Ghana was the first country to receive the COVAX facility, which gave us over 600,000 doses of Covishield, which we've been using. And most African countries will have this brand. This is the brand that is coming from India, the Covishield, which AstraZeneca had given the patency to India to produce. So this is the vaccine we are using. This is the original AstraZeneca vaccine. The important thing I want you to notice here is these are clinical trials that were done in Brazil, South Africa, and United Kingdom. So again, this is not the original Covishield, but it's also AstraZeneca. Those who took the vaccine were protected. Those who didn't have the vaccine or had other forms actually had more critical and severe diseases. And this is what the blue line is showing, severe form of the disease. The lower one they didn't have because they took the vaccine. So they were less in the vaccinated group. In terms of the side effects, those who had the vaccine had very few compared to those who didn't have. In some arm of the study, those who didn't get the AstraZeneca were given the meningitis vaccines, and they realized that they had more actually COVID-related complications. And there were very few side effects, and generally it was acceptable, and we have recommended it, and that's why FDAs and regulatory bodies have approved it for use. Again, some African countries, there are other vaccines that will be made available, and this is an example of another one. I know Sinopharm from China, other African countries are also going for that. It just tells us that vaccines are not one. And again, when people say there's antichrist in it, which one of them has the antichrist? Because the technologies are different, the means are different. There are over 300 candidates in the pipeline. 5 of them have been approved. So again, people saying there's a microchip in it, they haven't proven to us. They haven't said this is the batch or this is the company with the one producing. Some are produced in China, others are in India, Europe, and other countries. So which one has the Antichrist label? There's no evidence to that. It's just speculation and causing fear. So the questions have come up a lot. How long would vaccines last? Again, for these vaccines that we are being given, we can't tell because it is too early. We need to follow up. And I mean, people are being followed up to be able to say that we are going to take boosters in the near future. As of now, we don't have answers to that. All that we know is there's antibody produced when you take the vaccine. People who get a natural infection also get antibodies. It doesn't protect them well the whole part of their life, or it doesn't give you life protection, which means that calls for other vaccines. And that is why in the current series, there are 2 doses. Actually, Johnson & Johnson does 1 dose, but again, we are yet to follow up and see how long the protection will be. So generally, they are lifelong protection vaccines. Again, this is the protection threshold. And depending, it's more looking likely that the COVID vaccine will go with this one, which means boosters may be needed. But again, as I said, it is too early to conclude. We're just following up people. A lot of African countries are yet to even get full complement of first dose, let alone second dose. So if you take the second dose, then your level of protection can begin to be measured. And then we can tell whether after 1 year, you are wholly protected, or after 1 year, you will need a booster, as happens in quite a number of immunization schedules. So immunologic memory of SARS-CoV-2 up to 8 months of infection. So these were studies that were done, followed up in people who had a natural infection. And they realized that actually those with natural infection can get protection even up to 8 months because there are antibodies there. And that tells us that those with natural infection who will recover can be given a second dose. Probably we can wait because they have some protection, but they will definitely need the vaccine, not that they have had it, so they will not need it, because people have had second infection. So there's room for second vaccination. Actually, currently the debate is, do they just need 1 more because they've taken 1, or do they need another 2? But the argument is going for, if you've had 1, when you take a second one, your immunity will be high enough so that you don't even need a second of the vaccine. But again, these are all under studies, and new information will come up as time goes by. So this is just to tell us about the spectrum of vaccines that are available currently for SARS-CoV-2, or COVID-19. So they are the RNA type is gradually Moderna and then Pfizer. And again, the problem with that is you need high temperatures. What we are using in most African countries is actually the viral vector type. So that includes the AstraZeneca, the Covishield, which most Africans will be getting. The Johnson & Johnson has now been certified for use in the US, but virtually African countries also get it. But let's know that there are the subunit types, which are also being developed. The Novavax is there. Sinopharm, which is developed by China, is the inactive type. There's also the live attenuated, which is being developed, but these are not highly rolled up. So these are examples of the type of vaccines available and how we can make use of them. So I wouldn't go into details, but this is just telling us the technology that is available for developing the vaccines. The two top ones, the one we are using are the viral vector, which is using the adenovirus. Adenovirus, we know, is a DNA virus. We know SARS-CoV-2 is an RNA virus. Because DNA virus is more common to humans, the RNA virus is engineered, put into the DNA virus, which is known to humans in a way, and for that matter, the immune system recognizes it in a way, but also to generate immunity. That is why they use chimpanzee DNA that cannot replicate. And because it's a DNA virus, it actually goes into our nucleus. But for a viral DNA to integrate into human, you need an integrate enzyme. But this virus doesn't have it. So let's just get to know that it doesn't integrate into our DNA. And for that matter, it doesn't cause your genetic materials to change. It doesn't have the enzyme to do that. They are enzyme specific and it doesn't have it, so it doesn't get there. So in your nucleus, it is ejected back into the cytoplasm. And actually what happens is within that, the ribosome processes it. And if you can see from here, this is the same spike protein. So the human is producing spike protein alone. It's not producing the virus, and that is why the reactogenicity will not be as the natural infection. But it is these spikes that the body produces antibody against and tells the body that you have been exposed to this, so that when the true virus comes, fight it well. A similar principle underlines the mRNA, but that one is actually an mRNA, so it doesn't even get into the human nucleus. So it is engineered through attachment to a plasmid, it is purified, it is put into a nanoparticle so that it can enter into human cell. And at this point, the processes are virtually the same. So the body recognizes a foreign agent, which is the spike protein, and then produces antibodies against it. So again, let's bear in mind, it is not the whole virus, but just a part of it, which has been engineered to produce that effect. So about the Covishield, every vaccine has what we call the adjuvant and then the expedient. Again, let's bear in mind, there are agents in them, and some people react naturally. So if you react naturally, please just be careful and don't take the vaccine, or just alert whoever is giving you the vaccine so that you don't take that. Again, this is the warning that they give. There are definitely side effects, and I'll go through a few observed in Ghanaians: headache, chills, fever, dizziness, but they haven't been very severe events as has been reported elsewhere. But let's just know that the causing of clots has actually been debunked by EU regulatory bodies, so that is even not true. So again, in Ghanaians, these are the documented main side effects after vaccination. There's fever, chills, excess sweat, injection site pain, injection site redness, bodily pains, sleepiness, headache. So these are the common ones. There have been very few adverse events, but they are checking for correlation so that we get to know more. And again, this is all part of post-surveillance or surveillance as we post licensure surveillance, and that will go on in every country doing the immunization. So vaccines would normally take between 10 to 15 years to develop. Now we got ours extra fast, not because we caught cancer, but because again, we have what we call the emergency medical authorization. I mean, these are not normal times. Normal times we go through preclinicals, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, then licensed, and then phase 4. Where the vaccines are being given in the phase 4. But WHO did a fast track because we need the vaccines early. It doesn't mean they cut corners, but immediately they started preclinicals, got results, got a bit of results. They started phase 1, a bit of preliminary results, they started phase 2. So you realize this is going almost parallel, actually developing infrastructure also parallel, such that it didn't take a lot of time. That is how we got it early. But the phase 4, which is giving the vaccine and doing the pharmacovigilance, this is what is taking time. And this is what we are all trying to follow to make sure that the right things are done. So I will just go through questions that have been asked, and I'm sure you would have asked one or two of these questions already. Can pregnant women be vaccinated? In the African context, yes. And actually, new data is coming up to show that really we can give it to pregnant women, because some women were inadvertently vaccinated, and they don't seem to have major effect on their pregnancy. Can breastfeeding women take the vaccine? Yes, they can. So lactating mothers can. How long does immunity last? We don't have 100% answer, but it is believed to be between 6 and 12 months. But as I said, this is ongoing, so we need more data. Are we still going to observe? Yes, we need to observe the protocols because we are not out of the woods yet. Can I refill the vaccine? Generally, this is not recommended. The vaccines are not poisons. Many doses have been given. We are not hearing any unusual effects, so we still will do it. I know there are laws governing who and who not, but let's not even get there. Let's take it to reduce the vaccine across Africa. Are there microchips, antichrist diseases? I mean, I have given you a presentation earlier that it is not likely. Nobody has proven, except that they are just speculating. Why did we quickly develop the vaccine, but not for malaria? I mean, malaria and HIV are African problems. We need to develop our systems to develop our vaccines, because this is killing whites and they develop their vaccines and we are benefiting. Let us invest in our structure and build our own as well. How come this vaccine was developed fast? Yes, it is needed. So we use parallel system, not the longitudinal one. If I react to the first shot, can I take the next? Just report it. We assess the level of reaction to inform us whether you qualify for the second or not. Can I get infected or transmit disease after vaccination? This is not impossible because protection is not 100%, but definitely it is reduced. So it's better to reduce it. And when we get herd immunity, the effect is more, and then it will be more effective in the community. If I have special condition, can I take it? In fact, it is given for people with hypertension, diabetes, and obesity. They are special conditions, but it would have to be assessed one-on-one. Speak to your doctor if you think you have a unique condition for advice. How many times are we going to take the vaccine? And would there be a booster? I responded to this early. For now, most of them are 2. But with time, we'll get to know whether boosters will be needed or not. If the whole virus didn't invoke antibody to offer protection, how can a part of it that is using the genetic coding of the spike protein? Let's remember they added adjuvants, and adjuvants are actually immune boosters. So those are the things that are tricking the body to boost the higher immune system than actually the actual virus. So there is adjuvants added, and that generates immune response. If protection lasts just over 9 months to 1 year, does it mean I should get the vaccine yearly? It might be that we need to get the vaccine yearly, but the vaccine must be modified based on the genetic coding and the mutations, which must be factored into developing the vaccine. Can I combine different vaccines? There are studies ongoing. We don't have answers now. It may be possible, but for now, it is recommended that you take the same vaccine for 1 and 2. If I have previous infection, can I take the vaccine? Yes, you have some level of protection, but you still need the vaccine. And then talk to your program manager. They will advise on when best to take the next shot. When will all this end? Again, when we all bring our effort together, we get the vaccines and take it, and then we still use our COVID protection, and the numbers start dropping to elimination level, then life will move to normal. So he caused all, both small and great, both rich and poor. This is Revelation 13, 16 to 17, both free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their forehead, so that no one may buy or sell except he who has the mark of the beast or number of that 666. Again, that's the thermometer gun. Vaccine card mean we are being controlled. So these are questions being raised. But let us remember that we use remotes in our cars, we use drones, we use TV. They are all based on principles and we accept them. Passports, yellow cards are required to enter to identify who we are, where we are coming from, and the risk of infectious disease to another population. So these cards have been requested at point of entry, and we know when you travel, they take your passport, they will look at yellow card depending on the disease burden there. So COVID is not different from all these. So let's not read extra meaning into it. You hold the passport, which is biometric already. The COVID cards are not biometric, and there's no way they can link it to our DNA at all. So again, briefly, these are the possible causes of adverse events following immunization. There could be vaccine related. There could also be vaccine quality because of storage. There could be immunization error. If it is IM and you give it IV, you will cause a problem. But most of them are anxiety related, and a lot of them are coincidental. You might have been having the condition anyway, and then you took the vaccine. But this is the importance of it. There should be pharmacovigilance. And I know every country is setting pharmacovigilance to be able to monitor drugs, to be able to monitor effect. And a lot of data is coming out on how these vaccines are doing in Africa. So I would end here, make room for comments, and then to hear from each and every one. Thank you very much.